Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at a Forex chart on the British pound US dollar with some advanced analysis on a 4-hour chart. But as usual, let's start with our risk disclaimer and just remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and trading purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept, that losses can and will and do occur. This is important to understand. There always will be losses when you are trading. Let's have a look at the chart in question, and this is the chart I was looking at. It's a British pound US dollar on a 240-minute chart. And I want to have a look at this VS or volume spike set up here with basically a view to a more experienced user. Remember, we like to be with our MTP trend color, and it was grey at the time, so you could take signals on either side, but also we like to have a clear pattern. I'm not going to look at the hard time frame chart here. You can do if you wish in your own time. You'll see that the MTP trend is blue on the daily chart, so that indicates largely the trend is up. But I want to show you how to look at trying to get a clearer pattern. So I want to just move back in time a bit. So when the market was back here somewhere. Yes, we had some other trade setups. This was a TS2 buy setup here, and you can see that didn't actually make it up to its target, or not quite. If you get close to it like that, you really want to at the very least have your stop to break even, but that's not the one I want to look at today. What I want to look at is first and foremost preparing in advance areas for support and resistance. For you guys who've been following MTPredictor for a while will know I use the DP from the last swing into a high or low very often. So this was the last high. Can you see that? I'm circling it there. There's the last high. There's the pivot low. So this is the last swing. Can you see that? That's the last swing up into the high. So I come back to this pivot low here. I right mouse click and I do decision point. And can you see how that gives us an area in advance ready for potential support? So it's there waiting. It's waiting for you. And remember, it's off just this last swing into the high. So let's see how the British pound carried on. There was another buy set up there, but again we hadn't reached this level. So this is the important thing I want to show you, is that it's like when the picture gets clear. Again, for you guys who followed MTPredictor for a while will know that we look at what we call the cyclical nature of the markets, where about half the time the market patterns are unclear. The market's basically random, so you can't really be doing any meaningful analysis. And that's probably a situation with this particular setup here. The whole picture isn't coming together to be nice and clear. We like to see it when it's a clear picture, and that only happens about half the time. So do you see what I'm doing? Is I've got that level in advance there waiting to see what happens. So the market is going along, and then suddenly, do you see here, we suddenly reach this level. Do you see that? So here we have something that's where the picture is becoming clearer. So on one particular piece of analysis, we're now at our support zone, and that support zone was on the chart a long way in advance. Our MTP trend is black, so we can take that. But also, if I right mouse click on this pivot low and then do Elliott wave intermediate, can you see that? Can you see how this is also the end of a 5-wave sequence? It's at 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, albeit a very choppy 5-wave sequence. I mean, ideally we like to see wave 3 nice and strong and long, but it wasn't in this case. Wave 4 has just gone into the area of wave 1, which is okay, and we're at the typical wave 5 WPT. In other words, this is the area where most wave 5 swings are likely to end. So can you see what's happening here is that not only have we got a VS buy setup. A VS setup is where the market has gone through the previous low on high volume and then reverse back again. That indicates the professionals are now entering the market because it's a failure to follow through. So not only have we got an automatic setup, buy setup, in this case a VS setup, we're also at the area of a support zone that we had on the chart in advance. We've had that on the chart for ages, and that's a support zone we use very often, i.e. the support zone of the last swing into a high or low, in this case the high. But also we have a 5-wave sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the low there right at the typical wave 5 WPT. So can you see how I'm adding lots of different pieces together? They're all coming together. So it's like driving in fog. Suddenly the fog's cleared with 2 or 3 different analysis techniques all coming together to give you the same picture. In other words, the British pound at this particular point in time may be coming into an area where a low is possible. So if I clear that all off, now, clear all. Now if I place the analysis on, this then gives us a potential trade setup. Remember, we use position sizing in this case to, well, it's 54 micro lots. Hang on, I'm just going to change that. Just bear with me for a second. Just going to go to our tools, MTPredictor, accounts and risk. I'm just going to change that to mini lots. You can see we have ability to have different lots, or you can actually have none, which gives you the actual currency there as well. So I'm just going to change that to mini lots. And there we go. So that's 5 mini lots to keep your initial risk less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account. So you'd have been taken in long. The market then went up and actually hit our target there. It's just hit our target there for a potential profit of 3.7R. Again, this is important because our position sizing keeps our initial risk small. So if you are having losing trades, and you will, for example, if you did take this setup back here, that would have been a losing trade. You see how the number of lots has been varied. So that would be what we call a 1R or 1 risk unit loss. So that would have been a losing trade. But can you see here, this profit is 3.7R or 3.7 greater than the previous loss. So this is why we use position sizing. So we keep our losses small when they come through. But when the profits come through, they're large, but just not just large in dollar value. They're large in relation to the initial risk, and that's what's important. But the whole reason I wanted to do this video is to show you, well, one, the way markets are random sometimes. About 50% of the time the pattern's unclear. But what the more experienced users among you can do is build basically a analysis together and basically wait until loads of different things come together. So in this case we had the support from the DP off the previous low there. We also had the 5-wave sequence coming in there as well. So, and also the VS buy setup. So we had 3 different techniques in MTPredictor all coming together to signal a potential reversal all at that same time. Suddenly it's like the fog clearing and the picture becomes clearer. This is the best time to trade when you get multiple things all coming together to tell you the same thing. This is what we talk about, is having a clear picture. This is why MTPredictor is not a black box system where you just blindly follow all the setups in the direction of our MTP trend. It's far better to use it as a discretionary trading system and wait till the picture becomes clear. In other words, lots of things come together to give you the same picture. We then did our analysis, and as you can see, the result there was a nice profit of approximately 3.7R. So hopefully a good example using a Forex chart. This is our MTP RT add-on to NinjaTrader 8, where we're putting lots of things together to combine to give us a potential trade setup, and as you can see, the result was a nice 3.7R profit.